next year, COVID hits, and combining that with all the
it was COVID's fault. You know, college football Heisman Trophy winner, COVID, according to Geoff Collins. And this is what you're going to find out for any North Carolina fans that watches this. He's going to absolutely body your defense and make them worse than when he took them over, and then he's going to blame something that isn't him. What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. And just when you thought he was out, they bring him back in. I'm talking about Geoff Collins. Now, shout out to Carolina Jackpot. I didn't know this until he sent me a text earlier today, I guess on their 247 forums, but it appears like South Carolina will be hiring Geoff Collins as an outside linebackers coach. Oh, how the shitty have fallen. Now, if you're not familiar with Geoff Collins or me, this is like the only bet that has ever worked on my channel. It would not surprise me if I have 50 or more hours of content just dedicated to this guy. And by the way, I started my channel after, like, the game after he was fired. There's probably not a person who hasn't worked with Geoff, by the way. Obviously, if they work with him, they know him better than me. But other than that, there's no one that knows this guy better than me. So if you're a South Carolina fan, let me just tell you what you're getting. And I'll even give you a little silver lining. I do think there's a way that this could work and or not be awful for South Carolina. But if you don't know Geoff Collins, Georgia Tech hired him after Paul Johnson leaves, right? So he's having to come in. You know, the big thing was that you got to transition out of the triple option. Todd Stansberry, who was the AD at Tech, gives him a 7-year deal with, like, I want to say 3 or 4, like, kind of like guaranteed. We ended up paying him the biggest buyout Tech's ever paid a coach. There's not a guy, though, with more than 2 firing brain cells that was going to give Geoff Collins that contract. And you know you're shitty at your job when you're so bad at it that they not only fire you, but they say, hey, bring the guy in that hired you. He needs to go too. So the AD was fired as well. And he used the triple option as an excuse. To this day, he uses that excuse. There's a few excuses he uses, and that's the biggest thing if you're a South Carolina fan. This is a guy that's incapable, not capable of taking accountability for himself on any level. He's still so butthurt by Tech. And keep in mind, he was paid over $11 million to leave and never come back. Will not say the institution's name. Anyways, he comes into Georgia Tech. Now, some behind the scene things that you probably don't know if you're a South Carolina fan, or if you're just not, you don't have a PhD in stupidity Collins stuff like WreckTalk does. It's not just that the man's a bad coach. He's a piece of shit human being. So he comes in. This was on the Bill Shanks show. I have a whole video dedicated to that. Removed Paul Johnson's access from the facilities like almost immediately when he took over. He had a lot of penis envy toward Paul Johnson for some reason. Like when we played Florida State, they had that 2015 blocked field goal return for a touchdown, like one of the greatest endings to a football game in college football history. Geoff made them take that down in the elevator that the team was staying at because he was jealous of Paul Johnson at practices. Because that's another thing with him. He doesn't like being hard on kids. He really wants to be their friend more than anything. He literally had them slapping each other with pool noodles to simulate practicing. This is not conjecture. This is not speculation. This is what happened. For Halloween, he had the team dress up in costumes and take pictures and post it on the official page. We also had this legendary chaplain. Go look up Derek Moore.
Thank you guys for your heart and soul. because that's what you're going to put in it tonight. You're going to do it for the guy to your left and the guy to your right, because that's all that matters. Guy to your left, guy to your right.
A guy that had been here for probably 2 decades. I know he'd been here through Chan Gailey. So he goes all the way back to like Calvin Johnson. Gave these epic speeches before every game, was beloved by everyone that knew him at Georgia Tech. And there's a reason I'm bringing this guy up. Now, there was an understanding amongst the athletic department coaching staff, really, and Derek Moore. I think he was a part of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that the coach would make a donation to FCA, and this was understood to go to Derek Moore. Every coach did this that had coached at Georgia Tech since Derek Moore was there. And it's not like Geoff just said, hey, I don't want to do that. I understand other coaches have done that, but I don't want to do that. It wouldn't have been received well, but I get it. You know, that's your prerogative to do. What Geoff did is just didn't respond. Like, he kept being asked, like, hey, other coaches have done this. Are you going to make this donation? He waits until basically the last minute deadline, won't even call Derek himself, and has an underling go and say, yeah, tell him we're not doing that. Why is that important for South Carolina? Because Derek Moore left Georgia Tech to go to South Carolina. Derek Moore is on the South Carolina staff, so I'm sure he's not a fan of this hire. And there's a plethora of just other things, him stopping practice to show everyone helmets that had just been delivered. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. Now, I tried to tell North Carolina fans this. You look at what he did at North Carolina, 70 points against JMU. He was so bad in a single game. That game was 52-10 at halftime, and he's the DC, by the way. Their basketball team had not given up 52 points and a half. It was so bad that Mac Brown basically retired and then unretired to retire it at the end of the season afterward. You can't get much worse than that. So I sent Jackpot. There was basically a coaching clinic that I was on a Zoom call for. Now, it was in remembrance of Bill McGovern, kind of this legendary coach up in Massachusetts. So I didn't want to do it in a public video about it. But it is the most insane rambling. And keep in mind, Collins is on this call. This is targeted to coaches trying to get better at their craft. And he basically goes into, like Jackpot said, he has a sign that says the best defense in the world congregates here. He gives himself the nickname Minister of Mayhem.
And we changed every tendency we had. And excuse my language, but we whipped that ass. And so
and if you look at every interview he's in, he makes them ask him about why they call him the Minister of Mayhem. He's given himself this nickname. No one else gives two flying shits about it other than Geoff. But it goes deeper than that. He names his defensive packages like Tropical Storm and stuff to support his own nickname. It's crazy. He blames his failures at Georgia Tech on COVID. He's brought it up multiple times in different interviews, even after he left Tech at North Carolina, how, hey, the pandemic was the reason he wasn't able to be successful at Georgia Tech. And keep in mind, he didn't get better at Georgia Tech. He got worse. His last 2 games of his 3rd year, he got beat 100-0 by Notre Dame and Georgia. 55-0, I think, against Notre Dame. And it was like 45 and then 55-0 against Georgia. And Georgia could have scored 155 points against them. So I get that the triple option is hard to transition out of. What does that have to do with the defenses, though? You're a defensive guy. He has also said that while I was at North Carolina, he literally, instead of reading his daughter bedtime stories, he would tell her, I'm not making this up. I keep having to say this. This is from his own mouth. Instead of reading her bedtime stories, he would tell her the height and weight of all the defensive players on the team. He also admitted that while he was at Tech, he got a Woody drooling over the defensive linemen and their size while he was the head coach at Georgia Tech. So while he's a head coach at Georgia Tech, he's looking at North Carolina's defense saying, oh my God, if only I had that, I'd have the greatest defensive in the world. He got that and retired a Hall of Fame coach. So luckily for South Carolina, he's going to be limited in the amount of damage he can do to your program. I think as far as coaching, even as a position coach, because he's so concerned with patting players on the wiener and not hurting their feelings and being their friend, it's not going to help you at all. Here's where he can help you, though. He is a really good recruiter. He is good at selling a line of bullshit. So I do think he can help you recruiting. I guess the best position for him would be like marketing and recruiting. If he was just on your recruiting staff or marketing staff, that's where he would be the best. What I can tell you is you don't want him anywhere near. You don't want him in the same hemisphere as your football program, though. Also, he blocks everyone on Twitter. Maybe we'll end with this. Go look right now at Geoff Collins on Twitter. There's a 50-50 chance you're blocked by him, even if you've never interacted with him before. So, Jackpot, I hope the best for South Carolina. I hate that you hired him because he is a piece of shit and an awful coach. But I hope as much as I hate Geoff Collins, I hope you get the best version of this turd for your school. You guys have a good one.